Last week, I covered Blackwell Fields breakthrough, where I broke down main traffic areas and angles I like to use while sniping. So for this follow-up video, I want to take that information and apply it to actual gameplay clips. I'll try to keep the video as succinct as I can, but there is a lot of information to cover. So I'm going to focus on the main points here, being reading traffic, taking better angles, knowing when to reposition, and understanding why certain spots work better than others. Starting off with Sector 1, this is one of the areas I discussed taking. Going up over this hill allows us to see directly down onto the point, having a good vantage point, it's high ground, and it gives us a big wide range of the map, but we have to keep in mind that that range also is able to see us as well. What you'll notice here is as I push over this hill, I don't push all the way. The reason for this is because I'm actively looking for people, and as soon as I see somebody, I can hold that angle and prevent other angles from seeing me. So as I round the hill, I see some people spotted. What you'll notice is I stopped moving forward, because what this allows me to do is still have an angle on these three here, while keeping myself protected from anybody that's below this line, over in this area, and over this way. Even though I missed some shots there, I was able to take out all three. Now what you're going to notice is I'm going to shift this way so I can try to have a better angle on this area here. I see a couple of people here, so I stop in ADS. There's no point in me moving forward, because if I do, then all that does is open me up to more people in this area and more people off to my left. And I'm going to keep shifting this direction. Ultimately, top of this hill is going to be pretty vital, because it gives me more of a line of sight on everybody that's in this range, and more of a line of sight on everybody that's in the back as well. Important thing to note here, because as we can see, this was the area I discussed last time. That is a high traffic area. We can see quite a bit of it. We can also see this side where there's sometimes people. We can also see this area, especially if we move up a little bit. Oftentimes people are going to be here as well. Other main areas to worry about and keep in mind, the rooftop and this section here. We want to keep this section in mind because, again, this is one of the spawn areas is behind this building and in this area here, and oftentimes people are going to be routing through this way to the point. Another thing to note is sometimes they shift up and go to our left. So you see, I got the one kill and I shifted my focus in this area. Yes, I'm missing some shots, but ultimately putting a lot of pressure on the enemy and keeping them from easily moving up. What this does is allow my team, hopefully, to take advantage of this space that I'm creating and being able to move up and hold a line. Another thing to note here, yes, I dropped back and I popped up, but because I moved back, there's going to be less of my body showing in this area. My main target priority here is going to be the guy that's sniping at me and looking at me, especially since I'm in his sweet spot range. If you don't know already, if you see this little rainbow color here off of their glint, that means you're within their sweet spot range, which means if they body shot you, it's going to be a one-shot kill. So ultimately I got the kill, I drop back a little bit more, and I start scanning the horizon just to make sure there's no enemies that way. If everything is clear, that allows me to move back up. What I will say also in this situation is it would be a good idea to relocate. The reason for that is I've gotten a few kills in this area and the enemies are actively shooting at me, which means they're going to expect me to pop up in roughly the same spot. Even though I didn't relocate a lot here, part of that is because the main focus that was being shot at from this direction is no longer there. I knew I was taking shots from somewhere off to the left, so if I use this hill here as some semblance of cover, then it allows me to gauge where the enemies are that are actively trying to kill me. And in this situation, they happen to be here and here. Again, like I discussed, this is going to be a spawn area. So while I'm trying to engage anybody that's in this line, I have to be aware there's going to be people popping up and popping up quickly in this spot. If they're not going to be spawning here, they're going to be spawning behind the building and coming around this direction. This is from another high value area I discussed from Sector 1, up on the left side behind the rocks. The reason this is a high value area is because it gives us plenty of line of sight on these guys here. Anybody that's going to be hiding in this area, behind this truck, and then off to this angle as well. We skip ahead a little bit. I oftentimes like using this angle also. I can come over and I can see everybody that's going to be in this direction here. Because so much pressure is going to be coming from our team on the right, most people are not going to be looking or anticipating someone coming from this angle where I am. So this can give us a little bit of an advantage and possibly a couple of kills. Now, I don't want to stay up there too long because there's not that much cover, so I'm going to shift down this direction and try to use these rocks here as more cover. Again, because if I can use this and this as cover, I can see directly into this spot, this area here, and still if anybody shifts to this area. Right now, I'm not going to be worried about this spot here because I know my team has pushed up. I have some squad mates here and I have some teammates over in this direction. So my job is going to be applying pressure in this area, and if possible, moving forward and up a little bit so I can see back towards that spawn. All right, moving on to Sector 2. Like we discussed in those videos, there's going to be a few spots here that we want to look at weaponizing right out the gate. This area here is pretty good. This area here can be hit and miss, but can be decent. This direction over here as well. So as I start peeking this hill, what I'm trying to do is scan for any enemies that could be seeing me here, because we have a little bit of a rock here that's going to protect us from that direction. So if I can snipe anybody here, that allows me to move to the left. Again, we're moving up to this rock and utilizing it as cover, but as you can see here, there's a significant portion of my body that's sticking up above this rock. This is why I said it's kind of a good spot, but it can be hit and miss. Like I said, this area here is going to be one that a lot of people are in, along with this rock on the side. Again, taking anybody out that gets on this heavy MG is going to be vital for your team to be able to move this direction. Again, I'm still in this area and I'm moving this direction slowly but surely. What I want to do is help create space for my team to push and then help manage that push as well by protecting them as they go. One of the other areas that the team is going to push is on that right side of the hill, so if I can take out anybody that's camping in this area, that gives them an opening. For this clip, I wanted to show being up on the hill as well and how effective this area can also be. So I'm taking my time and moving up, and I'm going to use this hill here as cover. Another area to be aware of is this one here. It's a low traffic area, but straight out the gate for Sector 2, there's oftentimes going to be people here, and other times there's just nobody there. So if I go up and I start getting shot from this direction, I already know this is where they're at, because ultimately this is the only spot that they can duck behind cover where I can't see them until they peek. And here again, what you'll notice is that when I peek this, there's a guy here and at least one here. I can see both of their glints, so I just assume that they are both looking at me. So what I'm going to do is take one out, duck behind cover. And as I ducked down and popped back up, I noticed, oh, there's 3 there. Now there's only 2. I went ahead and took the risk of not ducking down, taking the 3rd one out. But again, I know there's a 4th one and they're going to probably peek somewhere in this area. But they were last seen in this section here. Alright, the big part that I talked about was trying to move on the left side of the map and take this little hill here. Again, I discussed this in the prior videos. The reason for this is it allows you to see a significant portion of the A objective. This gives us a direct line of sight, being able to put a ton of pressure on them and get their focus off of our team moving this direction, which allows them to move up and take advantage of that, hopefully. So again, I'm trying to peek this easily to survey what's going on, but I'm also going with a mindset of attack. I have to put pressure on them to open things up for my teammates that are on that side moving up. This is one of those times where target priority can come into play. The main priority is the one that's looking at you and shooting you. However, what you'll notice is my crosshair is closest to this one, and they're also looking my direction. So since my crosshair is closest to here, I want to take this one out first, re-peek, take this one, and then I can worry about this one here because they're not even looking my direction, so they're not even worried about me. They don't even know I exist here yet. Like I said, this is a high traffic area. A lot of enemies like to post up here and in this section here. So this gives us a clear line of sight, allowing our team to move up with the pressure that we provide. All right, so for Sector 3, again, like I discussed, I try to push this hill on the left side. It gives us plenty to look at, but I want to point something out. Oftentimes when I move up this direction, I don't peek here first. I actually look in this area. Again, there's going to be a spawn this direction because of A, and some enemies are going to come out here. Sometimes they're recon players, sometimes not. So the first place that I look is this section here. I look this section that's behind the fence, and then this spot here. And as I move up, I'll look at the building behind A, but I want to keep in mind that one section that we talked about that a lot of enemies like to post up in at the start of this sector is right down this hill. As I mentioned, I'm going to move up and check this area. Next area is this section I talked about. I'm going to sweep this direction while keeping in mind there's going to be people on top of C more than likely. I'm not as worried about the people on top of C because, again, I'm trying to clear space for my team to move up, and then I can cover their push by putting pressure on the people at C or the people that are spawning this area. Alright, another section like I discussed is sometimes that I go to the right after we capture A. Again, what I'm trying to do is cover my team's movement and their push from A to C. I'm still going to assume there's people here. A less trafficked area are these buildings here. More trafficked area is going to be this section here because people are going to be coming from their spawn and from B to try to cover C. I'm moving up the hill so I can give myself more of an angle and more high ground to cover all of these areas. But it also allows me to peek a little more on the right and get more of a line of sight on anybody that's in this section or at B. So again, surveying the area, seeing if there's anybody I can put pressure on. If it looks like we're covered, I'm going to drop this direction to give myself more of a line of sight on B, but also into their spawn and putting pressure on anybody coming straight out of their spawn to B, as there's not a ton of cover between those two. So hopefully this helps show why map knowledge matters so much for sniping. It's not just about aim or sitting in one good spot, it's about understanding where players are likely to move, taking angles that punish that movement, and knowing when that angle has run its course. Blackwell Fields has a lot of useful lanes, but those lanes only matter if we're reading the flow of the match and adjusting with it. Anyway, be sure to let me know down in the comments below if there's something that you would like me to cover more for Blackwell Fields, or even letting me know which map you would like me to break down next. I'll catch you on the next one. RAMTEID out.